Um,
It opens up. Okay. Good afternoon, my friend. This is the relationship doctor, Dr. Lloyd Slow, the senior pastor of Reshaping Lives Ministry, coming to you live again in the comfort of your home. It's so good to talk with you again on a topic relating to relationship. This afternoon, fortunately, my guest happened to be my beautiful wife. And so we want to talk about a topic or a subject matter that oftentimes can be controversial as it relates to relationship. We want to talk about financial management in a relationship. And I know for a fact some couples don't really want to tackle such a subject matter, but nevertheless, we will try and see how we can help you out because we happen to be two seasoned couple and we dealt with lots of financial issues and things of that nature. Before I begin, however, I want to state my disclaimer. We are not, we are not financial advisors, neither we are not accountant. I just want to uh, put that in there. Okay, let's go. Uh, Financial issues, my dear friends, are a significant source of conflict and stress in most relationships. When it comes to statistic, shows that many couples argue about money and a considerable percentage keep financial secrets or have debt they do not disclose to their spouse. Around a quarter of couples identify money as, excuse me, the greatest relationship challenge. And a significant number of divorces are linked to financial disagreement. Oftentimes, I will ask couples, uh, which are the three most important factors that oftentimes causes problems in relationship. And for the most of it, they would say finance, or sometimes it says sex. But I'm here to let you know, my dear friends, there are three fundamental factors that causes most problems in relationships. And they are, of course, finance, of course, sex, and of course, communication. But the most important one, my dear friends, that can settle the score and put back couples together whenever there might be an argument or a dispute, my dear friends, is communication. Because communication plays an integral role in not one or two, but in every relationship. And so, my dear friends, many couples also practice some form of combined finances or open communication with strategies like yours, mine, and yours being popular. And so this afternoon, there's a lot that we have to unpack. So let me start by number one, introducing my beautiful wife to the audience this afternoon. And I will ask her a very simple, straightforward question as it relates to financial management in relationships. When it comes to finance, how important you think it is that would literally link a couple together, number one, and number two, who you think should be the main person in that relationship to handle the finance, and why. If your answer is no, why? If your answer is yes, why is that person? So I know, and I now yield to you for your response.
Oh boy, that's a lot to unpack. Good afternoon, everyone. Eh, it's nice to have everyone back to listen to us. And as you heard the disclaimer earlier, we are not financial advisors nor accountant, but we are doing what we do based upon our Bible knowledge and the Word of God mostly. So, to answer the question, I believe that any effective financial management in a relationship is centered on communication. Communication is paramount in for any financial management in a relationship. Um, who should handle the financial in a relationship is, I would say, is the one who's better at responsibility with finance, making the addition and the multiplication and the subtractions and the divisions work. So if the wife is better at doing that, then she should handle the money. And if the husband is better at has a better handle on the money to keep the ledger, I would say then he should do it. But it should be an agreement, a mutual agreement with both. And I don't think that there should be any dispute with the better one, the better ledger person taking care of the financials.
All right, I tend to agree with you, but how about looking at it from this perspective? Do you think it would be fair that the person who makes the most money handle that finance? Let's say
And my
you
answer is no. As I said, if the person, because you make the most money, it's 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 a catch 22. Because you make the most money, it doesn't mean that you should, because you can make the money and in no time the money is gone. You can't find the money, you don't know where the money walked. The money eventually got legs and walked out and nobody knows where it went. So if trust is there, and because I don't make as much as you do, and you trust me, then I should be the one to handle the money because I'm a better money management manager. So why not allow me to do it? All you should require from me is open book, know where the money is, how it's been spent, and all of that.
I'm only saying that because not all relationships have what I may term as transparent communication when it comes to finance. And I assume that you will want to agree with me when it comes to transparency as it relates to finance. Meaning, if you're making $100 and I'm making $50, we should still have some degree of transparency. Because if we don't, well, then the person who makes the most buck would want to be at the helm of that financial management, because they would have some degree of not trusting you simply because we do not have a transparent communication as it relates to uh, money management. Do you think so?
And that is so true. But remember, even in relationships, there are dishonesties. Um, and so there are so many couples that I know that has, um, um, let's say, a joint account. And when one goes to the bank, the money is gone. Where did it go? Because there's dishonesty. And now there was a time when I remember you could have gone to the bank and two signatures were required to do a transaction. Now that went through the window, that's no longer. Anyone can go and do a transaction. And so, because of that, people take advantage of each other. So you go to the bank and you show up and you work hard and you put your money. You said if I work more than you or you work more than me and you put your money in, and when you go to the bank, your lips drop because it's gone. Where did the money go? And that's a big problem.
Well, the money, the person who takes the money most likely has to be your spouse because it's a joint account.
Well,
But
I know that, but I'm just saying I wasn't engaged in this discussion with this withdrawal, whatever it is, whatever he took it to do with it. I wasn't involved in that. The money just disappears from the account.
hence the reason why what I was saying, I think is fundamentally important when it comes to transparency as it relates to financial management, because it's not like just your money and you're talking about a joint account, but it's both persons, both the couple money in terms of me and you is your money and my money coming together to create or establish a joint account, right? So both person, both party, I think has a responsibility to sit down across the table and have some eye contact when you're talking to each other and let them know what is expected of each other. But as you rightly said, in spite of all of that, dishonesty ever so often creep up subtly and cause lots of problem in the relationship. But since we're talking about dishonesty, um, what you think are some of the parameters that should set up again as it relates to joint account when it comes to joint account? What are some parameters uh, couples should set up in order to mitigate dishonesty or to avoid dishonesty? What are some parameters, both verbal and written?
Well, I think that first of all, you should decide on the account that you want to open up. And when you open up that account, everybody should, both parties should be accountable to each other. You should say any withdrawal, I should know about it, no matter how small or how big. Let me know if there's a withdrawal. Any what you call it, deposits, we'll know. So we'll sit down maybe every 2 weeks and we will view the finance and to see how it is going. But I want to say that, and I'm going back at dishonesty because there's so many, you have a lot of couples that marry people who are drunkards, they drink. They're gamblers, they have extramarital affair. The ladies out there, especially the men.
But you
I don't
not
take the
cutting, but
women
all
take the money
fairness,
and give
all
men, but
fairness, you can't just paint all men
I
with a
am
broad brush.
I am speaking
When
on
you're
the
speaking, you've got to say there's some men and some women, to be fair,
I said,
when it comes to
didn't I say
extramarital relationship. Oh, you said
that?
men. So I have to
Okay, well,
defend the men factor too.
okay, so all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Some men, um,
And women.
women, yes, of course,
Amen.
are drunkards, they're gamblers, and personally for me, if my spouse is any of these, or I know that he's having an extramarital affair with me, I am going to guard that money. And you know what I'm going to do? You keep yours and I keep mine, and we will split the bills. I'll pay for this, you pay for that. If I trust my spouse and I know he's not indulging or involved in any of these activities, and he's being honest, we can go together and we can say, okay, we will have a fair square. We will, whatever transactions are being made, we will discuss with each other. When we want to buy something, we'll discuss. Don't just drive up in a Rolls Royce and say, "Honey, look what I got. My friend was selling this and I bought it." So where did the money come from? I took it from the book. Didn't even discuss it with me, but you took it from the book. That's not fair.
Well, I tend to agree with you, but what are some of the advantage and disadvantages as it relates to a joint account?
Well, I think I have mentioned some of the disadvantages already. Main one, the money disappear without you knowing. Um, um, yeah, the money is gone and you don't know it. That's the biggest disadvantage right there. And I think some of the advantages together, when you pool together, I think you'll be able to accomplish more. With a joint account, you'll be able to accomplish more because if you are honest and the bills are on the table, instead of one person covering the bill, you will pull together and get rid of it so that the relation can grow and move from one stage to the next.
Well, yeah, that's a good observation because some couples feel because they're making more than their spouse, there's no need for a joint account. But what happens when, let's say, an emergency occur in the family, right? When both parties are broke and nothing is there to stir around, then they realize the importance of a joint account. So, joint account to me has its advantage and disadvantages. Let's move to the next segment. Let's talk about some of the financial debt and how these debts often occur because as a result of that, it breeds what I may term as conflict and stress in relationships. And statistic tells us around 45% of couples argue about money, at least occasionally, and 27% consider it the greatest relationship challenge, right? And this is according to, I think, is a 2024 study by Fidelity. Now, the truth is that when one person is carrying the burdens and the other person hardly carrying the load, it's always be a conflict and situation. And again, it depending on so many, factors. But what happens when we spend more than we make? We create a lot of debt, right? And I'll be the first to put my hands up and says, I'd experienced that, but I know what it looks like. Because I can remember, and I guess you would remember too, many years ago, um, when I was obviously running my construction business, because of negligence when it comes to my CPA, apparently he overlooked to take care of managing the finance and to take care of the IRS bills. And as a result, it runs up to $25,000. When they written me, and I looked at that, I said, wow, I began to scratch my head. And obviously, I was trying to dodge in the IRS because $25,000 is a whole lot of money. But the little that I knew, they know exactly precisely how and when and where to get their money that I owed them. And the following week, when I get into my account, I think I had like 25,300 and whatever dollars in it. When I got into my account, to my greatest surprise, the IRS literally took out the $25,000 from my business account and they left me high and dry. And that was one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my financial world, so to speak. And so when it comes to financial debt, it's very, very easy to create debt because some of us, we spend more than we make. If I'm making $100, I want to spend $500. I'll subsequently get into financial debt. And so getting into debt is one, but getting out is something very, very, very difficult. It takes sometimes years, months, and it just depending on how deep you're in debt, how deep your foot happens to be in. Sometimes it might be at your waist level or your neck level in debt. And the higher you're in debt is the greater your expenses will become. So what is your take when it comes to debt? And what are some things we can do to avoid financial debt?
Well, I think that every existing debt should be, you should create a plan for every existing debt, whether it exists or present. You have to discuss, have a plan for it, how it will be paid. Because remember, sometimes we get into debt. Let's say, for example, you bought a car. You have to strategize and know how you are going to pay the debt. Because before you know it, you go outside and the car is gone. They come and take their car because you lag behind. The house is the same thing. The bank comes and foreclose and take back their house that they loan you that money for. So I think it is necessary to sit down and have a plan, whether the debt was existing before you came together or while you're in it, you want to create one. There should be a plan in place how you are going to address it. Because people create debt. You know, some people have credit card debt because they have the plastic and they just go and they make charges and they charge and they charge on it. And when the time comes, they cannot make their monthly payment. Personally, for me, I don't make charges more than what I cannot afford to pay. I hate interest. I don't like to pay interest. So I buy accordingly. What I can afford to pay back, that's how I spend my money. And I'm not saying, because I know not everybody are in the same bracket and can do the same thing. But I think it is debt is something that nobody wants to get into. Everybody tries to avoid that. And earlier we talked about joint account, and sometimes couples think that the best way to avoid money argument is to have separate account. But no, I don't think that that's the best way. I think the best way is to have a joint account, even if you have a individual account, wherever you're going to get the money from for that. But you should have a joint account that takes care of the money management and the bills and the debts and whatever transpire in the home for your own good or for the family's good.
Yeah, but we should not negate the fact that some debt comes simply because there's some folks who live in from hand to mouth. And when they get a hold of the credit card, the single factor that's missing from their life is discipline, lack of discipline or self-discipline, right? And so self-discipline is something powerful, especially for young people, because most young people thrive on purchasing things in abundance. And I am not saying this for all young people, because some of them are very responsible, but there are others who are very, very careless, and they spend money as though money is just another piece of paper. You understand? Money is a medium of exchange. Okay. And so thinking about money and spending money, generally speaking, we have to be much more responsible. I personally learned the hard way. You understand? And so sometimes it takes pressure and it takes pain for us to come to our senses and really learn how to maneuver money and how to manage money, especially our young people, so to speak. And so, what I would say, when it comes to debt, sometimes we have to bite the bullet, because not every week you receive your paycheck, it means you have to purchase a new wig or a new dress or do your nails. Some of these nails cost like $100 and something. I was most surprised. You understand? And so it's not adding up, especially if you happens to be a young couple. Yes, I would support, people need to look nice. I support that 100%. But you doesn't necessarily have to look nice every week by changing your nails, right? And putting the most sophisticated nails. For what? And I don't know, graciously speaking, how some of you women, and I'm not really demeaning women, don't think that one moment, especially those of you who marry men from the Caribbean who love their dumpling. When you have to knead that flour and all of that, you can't do that with fake nails. For crying out loud, come on.
Use a spoon.
You can't do that with fake nail. And if you use a spoon, that dumpling might be raw. When he cuts that dumpling, he might be seeing raw flour, and that's not good. So these are some fundamentals you will have to decide, especially going into a relationship, right? You have to come together and talk about money management. right? And I want to ask my wife how important it is for a parent to teach their children, both male and female, from a very young age when it comes to uh, financial literacy. How important and what that probably eventually would do to them as they grew up older.
I want to answer that question, but I just want to say from piggyback a little bit on what you was talking about is that people lifestyle, they they try to they have different lifestyles and and compromise is not a part of it. Some people want one couple will decide, hey, I'll go to Goodwill and buy my clothes, and the next one only wants name brand stuff. So there it creates an imbalance right there. So the lifestyle has to be discussed, and once discussed, you have to come to some compromise where the money is concerned. I think children should learn from tender age. And as you alluded to the fact some time ago, you usually put your money in a can and nail it to the floor so it stays there. And I think it is very, very important for parents to teach their children. Most young people today are not teachable. They don't want to hear it because they want to spend money. They order all the time. They will want to get something from you and they say, okay, I'll send an Uber for it. And it's just the way, and I can't see when you can pay $1.75 or 95 cents, whatever the train. I'm in the New York area, so whatever the train to get to two stops, and you are going to pay $13 when you could have saved something. It doesn't make sense to me. But young people do not see it that way, and they're not teachable. They're not willing to learn. They don't listen. They think I think there's no value to them where money is concerned because they say it's only $5, it's only $13, but it adds up.
Mhm.
But I think we as parents should always emphasize the need for rainy day and for savings. And the worst part about it, I think that a lot of the times young people think that they have parents and the parents they run into problem will take care of their expense and will do that. But I've always say if you want 10 and you have two, you only need eight more. But if you have none, you're gonna need all 10. So always have something put aside to help yourself. And it doesn't seem like that's taken well to me where young people are concerned.
Yeah, that's well said. And I just want to go back a little when it comes to saving. Since we were growing up, our parent taught us to save, right? And as old as I am today, I still have it in me because, well, you know, 2 years or a year or something ago, I went to the bank. I took all the quarters that I saved in that bottle, and when I changed it, was $67 or whatever, right? Because what happened whenever I go into the store, whatever, and comes home, I take all the change from my pocket and I throw it in that bottle. So it adds up. And young people, as you very well said, they're not teachable. They don't want to listen to the parent. Look, for instance, right, a good example of our children. Look at our son. He has so many sneakers. How many feet you have, right? And all those sneakers, right? The least expensive, probably $100 and more. Okay. So by that, you can see uh, most young people, not all, some are very responsible, but most of them do not value money. And you talk about ordering. Many of them order breakfast, lunch, dinner, and if you're not careful, supper too. Think about it. How much for a breakfast? How much for lunch? How much for supper? So we see there very clearly, okay, that literally billions of dollars are being withdrawn from our young people pocket per annually, period. And I say to many young people, even our children, I said the money that you would take to order, take that same money and go purchase some stuff in the store. And you would able to feed yourself, feed your family, and even feed your neighbor because there's so much. And secondly, when you do that, it will be much more nutritious. You know what you're eating. You're not guessing that you're eating this and that. You know because you are preparing it for you and your family. So all these things are essentially important for parents to continuously teach their children when it comes to saving and investment. Saving and investment. And sad to say, as people of color, we do not emphasize it. We don't even emphasize that in the church. I mean, preaching the gospel is fundamentally important because it leads one to salvation. But we have got to be what the term I may use. I can't find this word, but in other words, what I mean, you should not preach only one sort of message or messages, right? Your messages has to be diverse, so to speak, in nature, so that these young people will know when it comes to financial management how important it is. Remember that they're growing up and one day they will want to get married too. And if they're not, if in order to have a foundation base when it comes to finance, you can't begin when you get married because number one, you will pay rent till you die. You understand? You were never able to purchase a car. You would may never able to purchase a home. Why? Because you're spending money like you're just picking leaves from off a tree. And that's not cool. So my encouragement is that every young person should pursue financial literacy and continue pursue higher learning as it relates to financial management. Respond.
I just want to say that I don't want the young people to think that we're beating on them because um, I remember at work, you go into that cafeteria in the morning, these are grown, big people, and they go into that cafeteria in the morning and they have a hefty breakfast. And in cafeterias, you go, most of them, things are by the weight, and they have, oh, breakfast. When you go back lunchtime, they're there. And you go back again, and they're there. So, I mean, people have to learn, I guess, I don't know. I think people just need to learn to improvise sometimes. And like you said, fix things, bring something for breakfast, and setting a budget. Budgeting is very important because if you budget, then you won't overspend and you won't overdo it because you know that um my budget for spending for the week is $100. So you know that at work, it's $20 a day. You won't go over that $20 or for the day. So budgeting is very, very important, I think, to help guide people along, especially people who just spends and spends and spend. Make a budget and it will guide you.
Well, that's
I
good.
forgot the question you asked me
That that's good info. And talking about budget, a matter of fact, just Thursday night gone, we were talking about budgeting in our men's forum. In addition to that, I've written my first book is 12 Essential for a Successful Marriage. And in part, I talk about finance at length. And one of the things that I talked about was the importance of budgeting, as you rightly say. And I think if young people just zero in into budgeting, especially those, not young people only, let me take that back, but generally, people as a whole, especially couples, right? If they're zeroing into budgeting, it may help them to be much more disciplined. That's what it does. That's what it's for. And one of the things that I said to the men when it comes to budgeting, the first thing we need to do when we receive our paycheck from a Christian perspective now, we've got to give 1/10 to the Lord, right? And that's biblical and it's spiritual. Okay? Tithing is spiritual. So we have to give 1/10. The second thing we need to do is to take care of our mortgages or our rent if you're renting. Because if you don't,
You'll be left in the cold.
you'll be left in the cold, so to speak. And then we could talk about food and clothes and etc. for the family. But I think those two things are fundamentally important. Okay. Now, coming back to financial debt ultimately, well, it leads to stress and it leads to sicknesses and it leads to all kinds of stuff. Also, it ultimately leads to divorce, right? Because when couple cannot see eye to eye when it comes to financial management, they will get into rambling and subsequently one go east and one west. And that's the end of a relationship. And I would say it's not fair for either party. And guess who find themselves in the middle of a divorce? Your children, right? Especially if it's young kid, it began to affect them psychologically, so to speak. And both party will be, or the entire family. So it's not only the man and the woman will be hurting, but even the children who get caught in the midst of a financial wrangling. Now,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So my question is, here is a couple, and we have a open discussion about purchasing a vehicle. I see we can purchase the vehicle, but my spouse says, no, I don't think that this is a good time. We should wait for a couple of months. Um, there's a big disagreement there because we can agree on it. So the vehicle got purchased, and one is in agreement and one is not in agreement. So where should you draw the line with that? Who's right and who's wrong in that relationship or in that discussion?
Well, I think the right person would be the person that apply more wisdom. Because if we want to purchase a vehicle, and let us bring ourselves as an example, right? The two of us. And I'm saying no, you're saying yes. I'm saying no, you're saying yes. I think the proper thing to do is to look at our financial status, number one. Number two, look at the reason why you want to purchase a vehicle at this time, right? And see if we cannot identify reasons why we cannot push back our purchasing for a little time because of our financial status. And because of our financial status, we may not able to meet our monthly installment. So I would say I would be in the right to make that agreement and say no. You understand? Because listen, the best way to handle argument is not to point to one another and say, call names and all these kind of rambling. Look at the facts and the figures, like what I just done there, right? We want to purchase a vehicle. Why? Just to show off? No, it wouldn't work. Do we have enough money in our joint account to purchase a vehicle that we would be comfortable? And remember, let's assume we're doing budgeting, right? Do we have enough money in our joint account and we be comfortable paying our monthly installment on this vehicle and still money remain to take care of our family comfortably, right? Not being not struggling, but be comfortable. And if we can agree that we have enough money and even after paying our monthly installment money left over to take care of our family comfortably, so be it. But at the same time, we have the bottom line. Why do you want to purchase a vehicle now?
Because I need to get around, and you're selfish because you don't drive and I drive. You are trying to show me ways not to get the vehicle because I guess I don't know what you're afraid of, that I might be going places or whatever. But I'm just saying these things exist in relationship. Selfishness.
They exist, but I think reasoning makes a big difference if we can compromise, right? If we can only compromise, and as I said, the bottom line is facts and figure. What are the facts? What are the figures? If we can get to the bottom of that, I think we should not have no argument. And what would glue us together is because of our joint account. Not only your money, it's our money. So we would not abuse the money when we can do better things with that money. So that's the point I'm looking at. Now, let's look at something that's prevalent in lots of relationship and also would cause problem ever so often. When it comes to secret spending, statistic tells us that 33% of Americans in committed relationships have spent or are spending more than their partner would approve. I can recall earlier you were talking about transparency in joint account, and you were setting some parameters, excuse me, in order to secure honesty and avoid dishonesty. And so you were saying we should agree with what money should come out of that account. So here we see the statistic is telling us that 33% of American, right, in committed relationship has spent or are spending more than their partner would approve of. Secret spending. Let's look at secret accounts now, because these things are real. And you're smiling. Do you have any secret account? May I ask?
No.
Well, that note take a little while to come out. I have to check that out, right? Statistics tells us that 17% have kept a secret credit card and 13 to 15% have a secret checking or saving accounts. I'm wondering, do you have any secret savings and checking account? Well, you're taking a long time to answer that. And then we're looking at hidden debt. 23% have kept or are keeping secret debt, with a notable 29% of young people having discovered a partner made a large on this close purchase. Now, there are lots of secretive things going on in relationship. You know that, right? And so women like to run, not only women, some men too, like to run at the in-laws or their mother or the parent. Mom, keep this on your mattress. Mom, keep this for me. Keep the and sometimes that is not the best thing to do because there's nothing more powerful than trust when you trust one another. And if you were to find out that your spouse given their mother money to keep, right? That would tear you apart, especially if the family is struggling financially and cannot, um, you know, reach up to their financial responsibility as it relates to a joint account. That can mar a relationship. Would you think so? So I want you to talk a little and about secret spending, secret accounts, and hidden debt. If you have any, I think this is a good time to reveal it so everyone would know that you're an honest person and set your conscience free.
Well, the truth is, like I've alluded to the fact before, joint account is important. And if if you decide on splitting the bills, then you can manage separate accounts. And I think that most of what you mentioned just now, it's for people who have split bills. Because once the bills, there's a joint account and the bills need to be paid, then it has to come to the table. But I think that a lot of hidden things, because like I said, people go in and they have a lot of hidden debt. Some have what you call it, the children, money that they have to pay alimony. Some has money, they have cars to pay. Some has to support family that they do on the side, send money here, and the other spouse don't know that this is happening. Some have to do all sort of things come up. But I think it is so, so, so important. I mean, I do have a personal account, but it's not a secret. It's something that you know about from day one, and you encouraged me to keep it,
Oh,
which
yes.
was good.
Oh,
Yes, which
yes.
was good. So that's good for me. But at the same time, we do have our joint account that takes care of business. But I just think that when unity is strength and when you're united and the two comes together, one on one make two. And if you have two to take care of something as opposed to one, it is more helpful and will, I think, the task will be accomplished faster and sooner.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Very good point that you've just made. But we're winding down. And again, statistic tells us that only 17% of couples regularly talk about money. 17%.
Mhm.
And more than 1 in 10 are reluctant to share financial details. I want to know if that's good and bad. And secondly, when it comes to trust, only 19% of young people do not trust their parent enough to open a joint account, right? Particularly due to discoveries of financial infidelity. And that's something good or bad where young people are concerned. So answer those two questions, how do you respond?
The lack of trust.
Yes, with young
Well,
people.
I don't know. Young people, like you say, maybe infidelity with finance, they don't want you to know. I remember growing up, I had three accounts for my children. Three. Each one of them had their account. And as time went by, I took them, I brought home a deposit slip and a withdrawal slip, and I showed them how to write out a deposit slip and how to make out a withdrawal slip. I think that was the biggest mistake I ever made because I knew it, the money was gone from the bank. But I must say that I have one of them to today. He has two accounts, and my name are in both of them. And you know what? I just looked his, I looked at it to see how it's doing. And it's good that he has my name in it because a lot of times I save those accounts from either closing or from penalty. So I see those accounts and I think he doesn't care. When I say he doesn't care that I'm seeing them. And I will talk to him and changes will be made. My two girls, I don't know whether they're going or they're coming. I've always told them, and I say, give me $50, let me put it down. $20, let me put it down for your week. They don't trust me. They want to handle their own money, and good luck to them. Let them handle their own money. So then don't come to me and borrow my money because I don't know what you're doing with your money. My son, I will lend him the money because I see his account. I can get in there and take back my money if there's a problem. And and so I think there's a lack of trust where it comes, they think parent might go in and take their money or do whatever they want. But I'm not that kind of parent. I wouldn't interfere with their money. So I think if you're weak and you can't uh save rather, that you should let someone do it for you, someone who is trustworthy. Open the account and let them manage it for you because your hands are weak. Finally, I think transparency, honesty, and collaborations are very important to both partners. Those three things are important. Transparency, honesty, open. Each other know, let the other know what you're doing. Because if you hide the debt for whatever reason, it probably will interfere with the relationship down the line. So bring it on the table. Be transparent. Be honest about yourself. Talk to each other. And both partners should inform each other about their financial decision before you do anything.
Very good. I really want to thank you for partnering with me today. You've done an excellent job in responding to this question and adding some real great context to the subject matter as it relates to financial management in relationship. In closing, I must say, my dear friends, that when it comes to financial management, it plays an integral role in every relationship.
Amen.
As we alluded to the fact, lots of relationships are being mashed up because of poor financial management on either person side. It can be the man, it can be the woman.
Definitely.
And that's not good enough. So even before you say I do or engage to a man or to a woman, I think this would be a real good subject matter to address uh, with both parties. How you feel about money? What is your intention? Talk about budgeting and talk about raising children because that's another expense, you know. And so all these subject matter needs to be addressed
Definitely.
prior to saying I do.
Mhm.
Because if you think you can put the cart before the horse, you would be in some serious problem
Mhm.
that will ultimately cause your demise. And that's financially speaking. And so, in closing, uh, again, I'm the relationship doctor, Dr. Lloyd Slow. If you need any help, uh, you can contact me by tapping into my email, Pastor Lloyd Slow at yahoo.com. That's Pastor Lloyd Slow at yahoo.com. Let us know if this program had done any good to you and how it help your family. And it would help us to, share more of these kinds of podcasts that can help you and your family. It's a pleasure, and we're humble to do this to help those of you who have not yet say, I do to that man or to that woman. And so until then, bye. We love you very much. We care about your relationship. We care about how you manage your finance. And may God bless you until we meet again.
Bye.